We have come to the end of the second day of questioning of Richard Walton at the Undercover Police. After we went into so much detail yesterday about the meeting that he had with HN81 during his time on the Stephen Lawrence review team, or was it on the Violent and Racial Crime Task Force at the time? Who knows? Today we looked at his time doing a review of the SDS and some other discrete matters. It was a very much change of pace from what we heard this morning from Helen Steele. I think it's fair to say that it's surprising how little Richard Walton not only remembers, but appears to have paid attention to whilst he was in his role. I'm joined by Lauren and James from Bristol Counterfire. What did you make of what Richard Walton had to say today?
I hated it.
Yeah, fair.
He has, as you say, he's got this ability to not really remember anything, but also be highly confident that he was completely right with everything that he did.
Very confident, yeah.
Which is quite a feat. I don't think at any stage during this procedure, yesterday or today, he's ever felt any pressure from the inquiry to be in any way honest or open about anything. Even maybe a little flicker about the meetings yesterday afternoon, but today he's just on autopilot. He's quite comfortable in this position, answering these questions, deflects, and there's not a lot that we've learned at all, I think, today from Mr. Walton.
No, I mean, I think he's, like, as you say, yesterday there was a brief moment, I think, where he got a bit flustered. That took a lot of work from counsel of the inquiry to get him to that point. Certainly there was no ruffling of any feathers today. He was slime itself, rolling through. I think when we looked at his review of the SDS in that role in 2004, I mean, just the fact that he spent the nature of his review was spending an hour, maybe 2 hours with the undercover officers as a group. Possibly the managers were in the room, possibly they weren't, to ask them about their welfare concerns, and all seemed fine. It all seemed fine. And what did you make of that, Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of word salading and deflection, as James said. And yeah, I mean, the whole point around sort of welfare, and yeah, it was fine because they were used to being in a group. So, if their managers are there or not, of course they're going to talk about any mental health concerns or issues. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's farcical, isn't it, to say that was an appropriate way to deal with welfare if that was what you were actually concerned about. But obviously it just sounds like it was more of a social get-together than anything else. Yeah,
I mean, I think it was very telling that, I mean, he claimed that he didn't get to see any of the intelligence when he did the review, but that he did check the RIPA authorizations. Now, he wasn't taken to any of these RIPA authorizations, but he said in his report they were all professionally done and legally compliant. Now, I mean, I think seasoned watchers will remember when we have seen the RIPA authorizations, and what we see is a lot of copy and paste, a lot of information about deployments, which are clearly from someone else's deployment, which has just been taken across and dropped in. The same, like, these are annual authorizations, and it appears that each year they just use the same wording each time. But he seems to think they were all absolutely fine. I mean, I was a little frustrated that the counsel of the inquiry didn't bring that up. He just talked about the fact that was he RIPA trained? Was it, how did he know it was legally compliant, seeing he hadn't seen the intelligence? But you just got the impression of a very tick box exercise that he engaged in, and even the SDS seemed to think that because, well, the special branch thought, because within 6 months there was another review taking place because his first one had been of little value at all.
I think, how can you do a RIPA review without reading any intelligence whatsoever?
Right.
Regardless of the fact that when you do read the RIPA reviews, and they're all cut and paste year on year and year on year out, and their deployments are hugely problematic with people like, Thompson's just finished a couple of years of RIPA. Hastings is just starting. There's some hugely problematic individuals that we know about. One interesting thing in that part he said was that he was directing the focus of SDS into more Islamic terrorism-based scenarios, which did echo. I mean, he was very fond of saying how much time he spent with Mike Dell.
Yeah.
And in Mike Dell's evidence, he did talk about the 3 ethnic minority officers that are enclosed, that we're not allowed to know about, but presumably were in those sort of circles where they're infiltrating the anti-war movement or the pro-Palestine movement of the era, in a similar sort of vein to
We can only
these things at
speculate.
once.
I mean, we would say we have no knowledge from that, apart from what was revealed, but in the questioning of Dell, which was broadcast, which is in open. We know very little about any of that.
But it does definitely indicate a special branch that is very much plowing resources into that field with the extra officers, the Muslim contact unit opening up, and the extra funding going into E-squads on the Middle East desk.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that when it came to the cross-examination, that what his own counsel decided to focus on was just the size and the difficulty of his later posting into counterterrorism command, and the huge numbers of officers he was in charge of, the fact he was running 400 covert operations as soon as he went into that, the international nature of it, and that he couldn't be across all the detail in that. It really felt like it was like, well, when it was big boy stuff, you couldn't remember everything, so how could you expect to everything with this little boy stuff that you were doing earlier on in your career? And it was very telling.
I think a lot of that was in response to the TBS Bob Lambert emails as well. That some of it he was CC'd into, but also some of it he wasn't, but they had people representing him in Gold Group meetings where the discussions between Bob Lambert and the Guardian journalist Rob Evans discussing the hereditary heart condition of TBS, Bob Lambert's son, that Lambert did not disclose until he was rumbled by Dave and Helen at the meeting that he was just outed at. I think the point was to make that he shouldn't have to worry because he had so much going on, regardless, away from the.
I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it was incredibly callous. I think the minutes from that Gold Command meeting where they talk about, was there any duty of care? No, we didn't have any duty of care. And it was put to him, did he not think that there were ethical concerns which should trump any sort of policy position on neither confirm nor deny? And I mean, he wouldn't even be drawn on that. Which, I mean, I think is the sign of a scoundrel, quite frankly, that when presented with such a very clear-cut ethical position to take, that he couldn't simply say, well, I think it probably should be trumped, really, that in fact, the life of somebody and whether they might die of hereditary disease probably is more important than Met Police policy on this matter.
But I think the whole of that Gold Group did not display any of that sort of caring attitude or any sort of humanity towards TBS at all. I mean, there was a line in it that this would look quite poor for us if he was to die.
Yeah.
And after two of Lambert's other children from his marriage outside of his deployment had already passed away from the same hereditary heart condition. And it's just so callous and grim and
incredibly grim. And I mean, just shows the kind of the caliber of both witness today and all the officers were in Gold Group.
And this is 2014, little more than 10 years ago. So I mean, I don't know how they'd argue that this was a different time or anything with this bit, but they might.
Quite. And I mean, let's not forget, by 2014, the game was up. Do you know what I mean? The Hearn Operation Hearn had been underway. Do you know what I mean? There was no kind of question of like hiding what these officers had done really anymore. They admittedly the inquiry hadn't been called, but it was about to be, and the writing was on the wall. I mean, the fact that they're still trying to keep the details of it secret, and particularly on such a serious matter, I mean, it's just. I believe it really. I mean, we were so used to the sort of denials. We kind of, and they denied it then, they kept denying it. But it's like by that point, you think somebody in the room would be, hang on, this is about to go public pretty soon. The minutes of this meeting are going to go public. Perhaps we should show some contrition here. But no,
and you've got one of your most controversial undercover officers, Bob Lambert, going to a Guardian journalist to try and get the information to a child he abandoned 30 years previously. That you might have a hereditary heart condition that's life-threatening. It's like absolutely crazy.
I mean, what they actually do is contact Lambert and tell him not to say anything. Stop talking to that journalist, and that's kind of it.
I think it really shows that sort of sense of impunity, which has just been sort of built into the the SDS from the get-go. So even when, like you say, the game was up and they knew that, it was almost like the realization wasn't there because they just got away with all this for so long, and that sense of impunity, and we're kind of untouchable, and nothing's going to stick, and this is it. I think that's just so obvious in the way these officers and managers and all those involved are just reacting to giving evidence and stuff. It's just like they just don't care.
Yeah, I think we really saw it. I mean, going back to what we heard earlier today about John Dynes's exfiltration and going from New Zealand to Australia. It cost 2.5 million to the British taxpayer to give him a much bigger house. That there was so much investment in keeping the unit secret that it was almost like incumbent on everybody. It's like, well, if you mess up now and reveal something, then you're undoing all this good work we've done in keeping everything secret for so long. That it really felt like they were like, well, we can't stop denying everything because that's what we've done for so long, and that culture has been evident throughout the 11 years of this public inquiry, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And what culture were they protecting, or what police work were they protecting?
Right.
After how many years have you been doing this now? 6 years since the actual started hearing evidence?
Yeah, since the substantive hearings. Yeah, it's been 6 years.
What report can we put our fingers on where they actually did any sort of police work or gained any intelligence of anything? It's mad. I don't know if you want to cover as well the last thing that Mitting said.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really a really significant. I mean, certainly something that we haven't heard before. Basically, he reassured the witness about what his finding of fact is likely to be. Something that he hasn't done to any of the women who were deceived into sexual relationships. Something he hasn't done to any of the parents of the murdered children whose investigations were bungled by the police. Something he hasn't done for anybody. But to this senior police officer, he said, "Don't worry." Basically, he said, "Don't worry. I've decided." Like Bob Lambert has admitted that he's made serious errors in his other documents. So his write-up of the meeting that you had with HN81, I'm probably going to find that was inaccurate as well. So you can sleep easy and don't worry about what Ellison said about you. I mean, quite ridiculous.
It was like it was almost like he might as well have just gone up, kissed him on the cheek and said, "I believe you."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was like that, like you say, like giving him that peace of mind, whereas, nothing for the, the women and the people whose lives have been destroyed, sit there in tears and having, reliving all that trauma, no reassurance, no empathy. But yet for this guy, it's like, it's okay. You're going to be all right.
Yeah, it's shocking.
And also, he's basing that on the word of Bob Lambert. Like we've had 20 years of Bob Lambert's career in quite good detail. If the guy says something, if you say something's white, he's going to say it's black. It's like he's not familiar with the truth or any way, shape, or form. So the fact that you're going, "Oh, Lambert said there's quite a lot of things," the guy knows he's taking a lot of weight for the MPS when this report comes out.
Yeah. He
doesn't mind taking a little bit more to try and muddy the waters to help.
And I've really got the impression that as far as Bob Lambert's concerned, he is the SDS. It's his identity, and as such, if he can take a few extra bullets to save the reputation of the unit and save the reputation of some of the people who went through it, then he would see it as a bit of extra duty that he's managed to pull off, and something that they all owe him a little bit more.
Sees himself as some sort of Captain Horatio character on the bow as the rest of the ship's going down. Holding his torch up right to the end as it just goes under the water. I mean,
it's a grim image, but yeah. And we've had a few comments from people. Thank you to everybody who's liked and shared these videos. Makes a huge difference. We've got a comment here from Kathleen Quinn. "The minutes regarding TBS chilled me to the bone. These creatures aren't even human." I mean, you really get that sense. I mean, I don't know how on earth somebody could be made aware of this situation and then respond in such a way. I mean, you really have to be completely callous. And another comment from the same person: "My heart breaks for poor TBS. The betrayal trauma he has suffered is off the scale." Yeah, I mean, literally, his very existence is the result of deception of his mother by a father who, treated him as well. It's so incredibly personal. I feel quite uncomfortable kind of commenting on it, but suffice to say that Lambert is one of the most odious characters I think anybody has ever come in contact with. It's truly shocking.
And the Gold Group that discussed those details in 2014 doesn't display the MPS in any better light.
No, it really does not. I think they all look bloody awful. It's been a long week, and we finally got to the end of it. There is one more week to go. Next week at the Undercover Policing Inquiry, we have only 4 days, but I think that's going to be more than enough. We start on Monday with Sir David Vaness, who's someone who's been mentioned quite a lot of times. On Tuesday, we've got Janet Williams, the former commander of Special Branch. On Wednesday is Julian McKinley, and on Friday, John Bolsher. So, there's plenty more still to go, but it's been a long week this week. I'm glad it's over. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just one more thing, because we weren't on earlier. Solidarity of Helen Still did amazing this morning. Absolutely light and shade between her and what we've witnessed this afternoon again. So
Yeah.
Thank goodness from our perspective that Helen Steele's actually had the opportunity to give some evidence to intersperse between all these managers and their drivel.
Yes, and by the looks of it, it will be the case again in September. She will be returning to finish her evidence, albeit remotely.
Yeah, no, same. Just big love to Helen. Hope she's okay.
Yeah, but solidarity with Helen. Did incredibly well today, as ever, and we look forward to catching up with you. All right, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all again next week. The hearing, I think, on Monday is due to start.